The night before my mother's surgery, my sister showed her a screenshot of a message I had sent weeks earlier. It said, "I'll replace it before Mom notices." Mom had just discovered $4,860 missing from the checking account she had set aside for her surgery deductible, prescriptions, and recovery expenses. Chloe told everyone I had taken it. By midnight, my mother had made her decision. "Don't come to the hospital tomorrow, Natalie." I remember staring at her, waiting for someone to ask me what the message was actually about. Nobody did. What none of us knew yet was that one of the purchases made with Mom's card had left behind a receipt Chloe forgot to delete. And that receipt had an address on it. I'm 28. My younger sister Chloe is 25. My mother's surgery wasn't life-threatening, but it was serious enough that she would need several weeks of recovery afterward. In the month before it, Chloe started helping her more often. She picked up groceries, collected prescriptions, and ran errands when Mom was too tired. Mom trusted her. At one point, she gave Chloe her debit card and PIN so she wouldn't have to keep transferring money every time Chloe went to the pharmacy or supermarket. Nobody thought anything of it. Honestly, I was grateful. I worked full-time and lived about 40 minutes away, so I usually visited 2 or 3 evenings a week. Chloe lived closer. Mom kept telling relatives how helpful she had been. "Chloe has taken care of everything." I never felt jealous about that. I was just glad Mom had someone nearby. The problem started the evening before surgery. Mom called me sounding frightened. "Natalie, can you come over?" When I arrived, she was sitting at the kitchen table with her laptop open. Chloe was already there. Mom turned the screen toward me. Her checking account balance was much lower than she expected. She had saved a little over $7,000 in that account specifically, so she wouldn't have to worry about medical expenses while she recovered. Now $4,860 was gone. Not in one withdrawal. Several purchases had appeared over about 5 weeks. Some were small. Others weren't. Mom kept scrolling through them. "I don't understand this." I said, "Call the bank in the morning and go through every transaction." Before Mom could answer, Chloe said, "I think I know what happened." She looked directly at me. Then she pulled out her phone. "There's something you should see." She showed Mom a screenshot. It was a message from me. "I'll replace it before Mom notices." Mom looked at me. My stomach dropped. I recognized the sentence immediately, but not in the way Chloe wanted everyone to recognize it. A few weeks earlier, I had accidentally knocked Mom's old tablet off the kitchen counter. The screen cracked. I had texted Chloe because I wanted to buy Mom a replacement before she realized what happened. The full conversation said exactly that. But Chloe had cropped everything except one sentence. I reached for my phone. "That message isn't about money." Chloe shook her head. "Then what is it about?" "The tablet." Mom looked confused. "What tablet?" "The one I replaced for you last month." Chloe folded her arms. "That's convenient." I opened my messages. I can show you the entire conversation. Mom didn't even look. She was scared about surgery. She was already worried about money, and Chloe had given her a simple explanation. "Me." Mom said, "Did you take anything from this account?" "No." "Do you know my PIN?" "No." Chloe interrupted. "She's seen you use it before." I looked at her. "That doesn't mean I know it." Mom rubbed her forehead. Then she said, "I can't do this tonight." I stepped closer. "Mom, just look at the full message." She pushed her chair back. "I said I can't do this." Then she looked at me and said the sentence I still remember more clearly than any number on that bank statement. "Don't come to the hospital tomorrow." I thought I had misheard her. "What?" "I need peace before surgery. I don't want this argument there." "This isn't an argument. Chloe is accusing me of stealing from you. And I don't know what to believe. That hurt more than if she had simply called me a thief, because I knew exactly what it meant. She believed Chloe enough to exclude me, but not me enough to check the full conversation. I looked at Chloe. She wouldn't meet my eyes. I left. The next morning, I woke up before 6. I knew Mom would already be getting ready to leave. I picked up my phone at least 5 times. I wanted to call. I wanted to drive to the hospital anyway. But I didn't. Mom had told me not to come. So I sat in my apartment while my mother went into surgery. At 11:42, Dad texted me. "She's out, everything went well." That was all. I should have felt relieved. I did feel relieved. But I also felt something I couldn't explain without sounding selfish. I had missed being there because my sister had shown one cropped sentence, and nobody had cared enough to ask for the rest. For the next few days, I kept my distance. I sent Mom flowers. I texted Dad to ask how she was recovering. Chloe stayed at Mom's house and continued handling errands. Then, 4 days after surgery, Mom called me. Her voice sounded different. "Natalie, I need you to come over." When I arrived, Mom was sitting at the same kitchen table. This time, Chloe wasn't there. Mom had called the bank and gone through the transactions. Because she had voluntarily given Chloe access to the card for errands, the situation wasn't as simple as reporting every charge and immediately getting the money back. So Mom started checking her email for receipts. Most purchases didn't tell her much. Then she found one. It was an order confirmation from an online home store. The amount matched one of the larger card transactions. Mom turned the laptop toward me. The shipping address was Chloe's apartment. Neither of us spoke for a few seconds. Then Mom whispered, "Maybe she ordered something for me." I looked at the item list. A floor lamp. A side table. 2 bar stools. None of them were in Mom's house. I said, "Call her." Mom did. Chloe arrived 20 minutes later. The second she saw the laptop, her face changed. Mom asked, "Why did furniture bought with my card get delivered to your apartment?" Chloe stared at the screen. Then she said, "You told me I could use the card for groceries and prescriptions. I was going to pay you back." Mom's voice got quieter. "How much did you spend?" Chloe didn't answer. Mom asked again, "How much?" Finally, Chloe said, "I don't know exactly." I said, "The account is missing $4,860. She looked at me. "This has nothing to do with you." I almost laughed. "You made it about me." Mom looked between us. "Chloe, did Natalie take any of that money?" Silence. Mom repeated the question. "No," Chloe said. That one word changed the entire room. Mom sat down. I could see her trying to understand what she had done. Then I asked the question Chloe was hoping I wouldn't ask. "What about the screenshot?" She looked away. I opened my phone and pulled up the original conversation. I put it on the table. The message before the cropped line said, "I cracked Mom's tablet by accident. I ordered a new one. Then, I'll replace it before Mom notices." The message after it was Chloe replying with a laughing emoji and saying, "She's going to notice." Mom read the whole thing. Once. Then again. She looked at Chloe. "You knew what that message was about." Chloe started crying. I panicked. I said, "You didn't just panic. You gave them evidence you knew was false." I thought I could put the money back. Then Mom checked the account before you could. She nodded. And suddenly, the whole thing made sense. Chloe had used Mom's card for personal purchases because her own credit cards were nearly maxed out. She believed she could replace the money over the next few months. She never expected Mom to check the account the night before surgery. When she realized the money had been discovered, She needed someone else to blame quickly. And I gave her the perfect sentence without knowing it. Mom's voice shook. You took my money. Chloe wiped her face. I was going to repay it. Mom looked at me, then back at Chloe. And you made me punish your sister for it. Nobody said anything. Mom started crying. Not loudly. Just quietly. I told her not to come to the hospital. Chloe said, Mom, I'm sorry. Mom looked at her. My daughter missed my surgery because I believed you. That was the moment the money stopped being the worst part. The next week, Mom changed her banking passwords and got a new debit card and PIN. Chloe no longer had access to any of her financial accounts. Mom also went through every personal purchase with her and wrote down exactly what Chloe needed to repay. Some charges were disputed, but because Mom had originally given Chloe permission to use the card, recovering everything wasn't simple. So Chloe agreed to a repayment plan. There was no dramatic arrest. No one screamed about pressing charges at the dinner table. The real consequence was simpler. Mom stopped trusting Chloe with her finances. And I stopped pretending what happened to me could be fixed by one apology. A few weeks later, Mom asked me to come over alone. She looked healthier by then. We sat in the living room, and for a while neither of us mentioned Chloe. Then Mom said, I should have asked you before I believed her. I said nothing. She continued. I was scared. The surgery was the next morning. I saw that message and I looked at her. You wanted an answer. She nodded. I said, you should have wanted the truth before you wanted someone to blame. She started crying again. This time, I didn't say it to hurt her. I said it because it was true. I could understand why my mother was frightened. I could understand why missing money the night before surgery made her panic. What took longer to forgive was how quickly she had been willing to believe the worst thing about me. Chloe eventually apologized too. I accepted the apology. I didn't give her immediate trust back. Those are different things. And Mom never again handed anyone unrestricted access to her accounts just because they were family. Because sometimes betrayal doesn't begin with a stranger stealing your information. Sometimes it begins with someone you trust being given access for the right reason, then deciding that access belongs to them. If your sister used your mother's money, framed you with a cropped message, and caused you to miss your mother's surgery, could you forgive her after the truth came out, or would that change the relationship forever?